Alright, welcome back to the scimax channel. I'm going to try something a little bit different today and start what I hope will become a series of videos about scientific writing, how to manage scientific publications, bibliographies, etc. And today I'll start out with RSS reader in Emacs called elfeed. And if you don't know what an RSS feed is, it looks like this little orange icon. And it's usually an XML file that is published by a journal or a blog or some other aggregator. And it has a brief summary of all the articles, all the blog posts, and other little pieces of content that they want you to know have been published. And so if you have a good RSS feed reader, you can take many of these feeds and bring them all into one place where you can get a quick summary of everything that's going on, see if you want to read it, make it easy to review, and do all of those things on each entry, like maybe visit the full source or make a BibTeX entry or email it to somebody, capture notes, etc. So I found this link on the elfeed somewhere in one of the elfeed pages, and I thought it was a pretty reasonable summary. But today I just want to give you an overview of like what I do and how I use it. So you start it with MetaX elfeed, or in scimax I have created this whole Hydra system. So here I would just press A, and then you can see down here maybe that there's an R, and that will open up my elfeed window. And I'll show you later how it's configured, but I want to go through a couple of things. One is you can see I have a scoring system set up here, and that's coming from elfeed score. So I'll show you how that is. It defines a bunch of rules that get applied to all of these. And it's really this first line that motivated me to make this video. The iRo blog has frequently followed what our videos or blog posts do and written about it, and I saw this and I thought, oh, elfeed's really helpful, and maybe you would like to see how we use it. So a couple of things. Each one of these lines represents either a blog post, or later I'll show you some scientific articles. On the this is the score for each one, and it's sorted so the things with highest scores come to the top. And you can see over here a column of what the feed stream is. So here I have Planet Emacs Life, Emacs Stack Exchange, Emacs Reddit. Obviously I like the Emacs post to come to the top. And if we scroll down, eventually this will change color. Here is something where this is surely a different kind of Hydra than I'm used to, not the Emacs one. You can see there are a lot of these. These go back now, like it's been a week or two since I've looked at this. Now we have green ones. These are all my Python feeds, so this is all Planet Python. And in here is a scientific article that has scored highly enough to be up here. And then eventually we get down lots of Python. These are all scientific articles from these different journals: Journal of Physical Chemistry Letters, Wiley, etc., Nature, and so forth. So what I like about this is you can just use your arrows, or I like to use either J or F. I have those bound to mark something red, or I can press enter. I can see what this is about. And this is a summary that was written on the iRo blog of the eLisp data structures. And so you can, some of them are really good. You can scroll through this. And some of them, I'll show you later, like some of the Nature articles, they're not super informative. Here's another one. So directly from here, this looks interesting enough that maybe we would just press B, and you would get to the browser, and it would just open it right away, and you could see what's been written about Magit. And here's another one. Let's say this is another one that's related to what I wrote. I might see this and want to send it to somebody. I could just press E, and it should open up a, here I'll just send it to myself, like this, and this opens up a message, and this will send an email directly to me out of that. All right, so those are a few of the things, and then if for some of these, like I already know this one, I can just press F and it'll mark it as red. And if I get tired of using my left pointer finger, then I press J, and that will mark that one as red. And so I can just alternate going up and down these. Let's see, let me scroll down to, let's look at this one. So this is an example of an entry that's not super useful on its own. So here I would definitely want to press B to get to the browser and see what it was. And this one doesn't even look like science. Is there something, maybe there's something not right with that. Let's try another one. How about this, this one right here? So here we have a URL and a short little paragraph. I might want to press B, and I could get to the actual article. And if I press D, then it's going to ask me for a URL or the DOI. So it tries to extract the DOI from the entry, or it goes out to the journal. And if I just press enter here, then it asks me which bibliography I want to store an entry in, and I pick it, and it goes ahead and saves it in there. And if we go to those references, I think it's probably this one. This last article is the BibTeX entry that automatically got put in. That's pretty handy, especially for scientific literature. And then finally, I can press C on this, and it will generate a capture template over here that has links to the elfeed entry itself and links to the URL for that. And I can add some notes here if I wanted to, and Control C will write it out to my elfeed.org file. And that one, elfeed.org, looks like this. So it has entries in here for things that I've decided to keep track of for some reason. And this has almost maybe 5,700 lines of notes that I've kept for different things. So there's lots of ways to interact with these, and I use the color coding so that I can immediately see things that are green or Python. I showed you blue things are Emacs. And the score gives me some idea of whether something in the title or content or other rule has matched. And so this is a pretty fast way to go through the scientific literature, and it just gets delivered right to my Emacs for me to look at. All right, I think those are the main things that I wanted to talk about in terms of what the experience looks like. And now let me tell you a little bit about the setup. So the setup is using elfeed that was written by in this GitHub repo. It's a really great package that allows you to read RSS feeds, and the scoring is elfeed-score from this repo, and it allows you to use rules that are kind of like this. I'll go through how I set mine up. They're kind of a work in progress, and probably always will be, because things change, projects go in and out of my interest, and I have different reasons to prioritize some entries over others. All right, so the first thing we'll look at is my general configuration. So the first thing you do is require elfeed, and then you have to create the list of feeds that you want. And you get these feeds kind of all over the place. I have a bunch that come from FeedBurner. Let's look at this one. All right. Here is a typical journal web page, and usually somewhere on here is an RSS feed that's hidden. Sometimes at the bottom. Yeah, so it looks like this. And if you click on this, you can point them to different ones. So let's say you click on this one, this is what an actual RSS entry feed looks like. There's a bunch of information, then there's a title and a bunch of items. So like clearly we don't want to read this one by hand, but this is a URL that you might put into this long list. And I have two styles here. One is a simple string here, and I always put a comment to remind myself what it's for. And then there is this list form that is a string and some symbols. So this is a tag that is automatically put on every entry from this feed. These ones are tagged Emacs, Emacs and org, and even this one is a Twitter RSS. So in theory, when some things are tweeted, if this is still good, you would get the entry in your feed. And here are a couple of Google alerts that I have set up to let me know when certain things happen. All right, the colors come around by these faces. So what you do is set a face for here, Python, Emacs, and CMU. I picked this green, light blue, and pink color. And then we push them onto this A list. So the A list has the symbol that is the tag and then the face to use for it. And so I just put those there. And here we just set a couple of widths for what we look at, some timeouts for how long it takes. I have a timer set up. This, in theory, runs every 5 minutes, which is massive overkill when you only look at it every week or so. But that's how that's been in there for a long time and doesn't seem to cause any trouble. The email feature I showed you comes about because I wrote this function, email elfeed entry, and what it does is when you're on an entry, here we're grabbing, using let star. I talked about let in a previous video. So we're temporarily defining these variables, and I use let star probably because something is getting reused. It looks like the entry ID here is loaded here. So we have to use let star so that this is defined. But basically, we just get the title, the URL, the content, some links, then compose an email, go to the subject, insert the title, go to the body, insert this message, and then go back to the body, search for some HTML things to remove them. This is all trying to remove things that are HTML tags. I don't normally use HTML mail, so I try to get rid of those. It's not very sophisticated, but works well enough. And then finally, I use my org.db contacts. So if you remember that it looked like it was giving me a lot of email contacts to complete, that is org.db and something I should talk about another day. Getting that DOI, that's also a function I wrote. So here again, we get a bunch of information about the title. We search for DOIs in the entry, and then from orgref we use DOI add bibtec entry. And orgref will be, I'll be updating those videos in the next couple of weeks because there's a really big new version 3 that's coming out pretty soon. So here we just, if we find a DOI, we try to add it. You can see here this is specific to an HTMLized DOI that some entries have. And if we don't find this, then we just get the URL and scrape DOIs out of it from the HTML that results. All right, and then finally I define these keys. So this is why I can press E or C or D to do those things. And here I use F and J for marking something as read, and O is a shortcut for opening it. And those are the main things that happen in here. Let me talk briefly about the scoring. So originally, this is probably 5 years ago or something, I wrote this kind of score code where you take an entry and then you loop through a bunch of patterns and use these ones or twos or threes to add up a score. So here these would be keywords that I was interested in, or authors or names or people. And then if we match the pattern to the title or the content, we would increment the score, add them all up, and check the tags. Then we would have, you know, this way of adding scores depending on the tags, and there was this sorting tool. And it was very rudimentary, very proof of concept way of doing things. And since then, elfeed score has come along and made things that are a lot nicer than this. So I'll go over those things in a minute. Let's see, these are just some bookmarks. Let me show you that. I forgot to do that. So if I'm here and I only want to see Emacs entries, then I just press E, and it shows me only the Emacs entries like this. And if I want to see Python, I press Y, and there's a couple of others that you could use as well, and then you just press C to clear it. So that's what these kinds of things are. These are the queries that get run for them. I used to have these important and relevant tags, but they're a little less interesting now. All right, now the elfeed score that I use now, and this is just a few days old. I just replaced all of my old scoring code with this. Is shown here. So we use the elfeed score package. You need to use like the most recent one from Melpa to get the things that are working here. And the reason why we see that score printed in the front is this line here, where this just adds the score to otherwise the default entry. All right, and then the score file is like this. So these are the ones that I currently have used. I don't use any title or content entries. I find it easier to do title or content. So if any of these strings or regular expressions match the title or content, then we have these values that get added. So I'm super interested in seeing entries that mention my name. So I give that a very high value of 10. And otherwise, 5 or 6 or 3 or Unicode that I don't care to see at all, I give a negative score. And then these are like some research terms that I've been interested in. Here, anything that is tagged like this automatically gets a higher priority because I want to see them. And anything that is written by me or the iReal blog author gets a high value so that I make sure I see it. I also like to see the Stack Exchange Emacs posts at a higher level than Reddit posts, so we give that an extra score. And that is how we get to these scores on the left. Things are like automatically sorted because of that, and there is a whole little keyboard menu for setting a score, getting a score, explaining the score. I like that one a lot. I'll show you in a minute exactly what that means. And you can interactively add rules if you want. So if we wanted to see like why is Sasha's Emacs news getting a score of 13, then I press X equal X, and over here I get an explanation. Right, so this explanation says it must say Unicode in there somewhere, so it gets -1, but it says org mode, so it gets +3, and then it matches one of these, so it gets +5. It matches Sasha, so it gets +5, and it's tagged Emacs, so it gets +4. So if we add all these up, 4, 9, 14, 17 minus 1 is 16. That's how we get to this score of 16. So it's pretty handy. This rule-based scoring at least is very explainable, which is a nice feature compared to like a spam filter or naive Bayes classifier, where you wouldn't be able to say why is it spam or why is it ham or why is it getting the score that it's getting. So that's kind of nice. The downside is you have to define all the rules, and the rules are not always super easy to figure out. And so if somebody's using the word Hydra, for example, in a non Emacs way, then it's going to get promoted just on that basis. So that's maybe in a nutshell what I do with elfeed. And I claimed that it helps me manage the large number of things that come out, but you can see there's some 6,600 entries that are unread in here. So that's mostly because I actually don't need to read all of them. Let's go to the end. There are a lot of different articles in these journals that I don't need to look at, but I haven't figured out a really good way of eliminating them based on this. And so normally I just do something like highlight a bunch of them and press F, and that marks them red. And then next time if I press G, those things will go away. G just refreshes the list. All right, so that's it for the elfeed.org. Hopefully you also find it helpful in keeping track of blog posts and scientific papers, etc. You can hook it up to archive. You can hook it up to lots of preprint servers. And this scoring method is one that you can continue to refine to make sure you have a better chance of seeing important things. So with that, thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.